Hello, hello, community, and happy Thursday to all of us. Welcome to today's community event on this beautiful Thursday. I hope you and yours are doing fantastic. As always, we're looking forward to these community events as they give us a great opportunity not only to interact and assemble as a community, but it also gives us the opportunity to share the current events, discuss what's happening in our industry, and how that relates or affects us as a whole, as an industry, and then also as a community, of course, as well. It also gives us the opportunity to bring awareness to our industry and also give us the potential to grow our industry, our community as well, through education, information, bringing awareness. And this is why we do these sessions, community. We do them regularly, weekly, consistently, daily, in order to ensure that we are a community that is well informed, well educated, and purpose driven, right? Why are we stressing so much on this all the time? It's simply because we, as an industry, have a bad reputation of being just a speculative industry that is literally focusing just on pumps and dumps, and there is no real utility in the industry. There's really no real use case, um, despite being around for 16 years. These are things that we constantly hear and have to deal with on a daily basis as an industry. And this is why it's so important to bring awareness and focus on fundamentals, empowerment, talking about the real purpose of the blockchain technology, and also emphasizing that this is a technology and not just a place where you can just swap coins and tokens on Uniswap or wherever the case may be, but it's way bigger than that. This is the platform where the world economy is getting ready to build upon. This is the technology that the world economy is being built upon. The global economy is being built on the shoulders of the blockchain technology. This is the future. So the more we familiarize ourselves with it, the more we realize that it's bigger than just swapping random meme coins, and focusing more on fundamentals instead of chasing hypes and price hikes and market caps, but focusing on long-term fundamentals. How are we doing that? By understanding our industry in and out, by prioritizing education than hype, prioritizing fundamentals than temporary price hikes and large market caps, right? Because this is what this technology is all about. We have all the tools we need to develop a community, to grow a community that is purpose driven, well informed, well educated, and purpose driven, right? So, with all of this said, community, once more, welcome to everyone that is new, that is tuning in for the first time in our YouTube session today. We are happy to have you here with us today, and for the ones that are regularly participating in our community events, we also are pleased to have you here with us today. I want us to understand that this is a movement, and as the title gave it away, the topic of today is monetary system. And like we said previously, I want us to look at this blockchain technology as an opportunity that we can develop a fresh monetary system. Now, let's not make this mistake. This is not like reinventing the wheel, but rather it's finding ways how to be more efficient using this blockchain technology while maintaining the current system. There are ways to do it using this blockchain technology, and there are multiple ways to go about it. And we'll look at one way specifically and go as we go through this session today. So there's a lot to cover in today's session. And before we proceed, I also want to encourage us, to those who have not yet, our daily rituals of engaging with the tweets. All three of them are out, community. Killer Whale, Bull Run, Survivor, all of them are out already. So let's ensure that we engage with these tweets. We know the reason why. Twitter, or rather X, is a very, very large space where people engage, exchange, gather information, and there is a large crypto community on Twitter. So the more consistent we are, putting the word out, engaging, bringing awareness, that's how we're putting our community out there. That's how we're putting our industry out there, bringing awareness. So if you're new, just tune in, listen in. It's general knowledge. We owe it to ourselves as crypto enthusiasts to always be informed, always be educated and purpose driven. For the simple reason, because this industry is extremely sentimental and emotional, right? It's sentiment driven and it's based on emotions, fear and greed. That's what dictates the industry. It's not limited to the crypto industry itself. On a larger scale, it's affects the entire financial industry. That's how even the stock market is sentiment driven and emotional, right? The entire financial industry, that's just how it is. So what helps is to be informed and educated. It gives you that sense of security. You understand what's going on around you, and it helps us to stay level-headed and make rational decisions and not fall prey into being overly emotional and doing being led by sentiments, right? With that said, those who have not yet, I encourage us to engage with all the tweets of today, so that we can reach as many individuals as possible. And as we're doing so, I also want to highlight that I see all your comments. We'll go through all of them at the end of the session. I appreciate your engagement and participation. We are very pleased to have you all here with us today. So with all of this said, I'd like us to kickstart today's session, as there's quite a bit to cover. And I just want to walk us through the topic of today, monetary system. Now, keep in mind that I surely want us to understand that let's look at this blockchain technology as a tool, as a platform, as the new technology that we can use and use to develop a new monetary system that is just more efficient and more sustainable than the one we have currently, without having to overly revolutionize new things. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, but we can use this technology and develop a platform, an ecosystem, and build a community around it that is more efficient, more sustainable. And it's doable. Many nations are already doing it as we speak, right? So with that said, as always, I always like us to start with the overall market. So let's look at just briefly at CoinMarketCap. We see what's going on today. We are at 3.6 trillion overall in market cap, with more than half of that being on Bitcoin. Bitcoin alone, you see that the dominance is at 58%, extremely high. We're up just below 5% for the last 24 hours. And this is great to see as well. Yesterday, as we know, FOMC meeting, the Feds decided to not raise or rather cut interest rates, but just leave it plain. This was being anticipated already. It was anticipated. This is why the markets didn't respond negatively to it. Over 99% of the market already anticipated that will be the case. And so the next FOMC meeting won't be until March, and then we'll move on and see what's going to happen then. So that's basically all we have to say about today's market as of now. Let's really understand. Let's go and kickstart this session today. So the article we're looking at here is the executive order issued from the White House itself, signed by the sitting president, Donald Trump. And this is the executive order, as you see here, by the United States. And it's focusing, this was the crypto executive order, right? Cryptocurrency, digital assets, executive order. And there's literally 4 or 5 points that I want us to just share and look at. As always, we always like to set the stage and literally just set the foundation that will guide us throughout today's session. Now, keep in mind, community, that today's topic is monetary system. And keep in mind that this digital blockchain technology gives us a new foundation, and let's look at them as a tool for us to use as a monetary system. So whenever you're looking at a cryptocurrency or an ecosystem, look at it as a monetary policy. This will help us to focus on fundamentals, not on hype and not on price movements that are temporarily or manipulated, but rather or on large market caps, but rather we'll focus on the fundamentals, right? With that said, we have to start from somewhere. Let's start from somewhere. And the best place to start is the executive order received and signed by the president. And it's about strengthening American leadership in digital financial technology, right? It's about the technology. It says it right here. It's about the technology, right? And this is exactly what's going to move us forward. This is what's going to uplift nations. It's using this technology to make the current monetary system more efficient, more sustainable. That's it. So let's focus briefly on, like we said, this is by the authority vested in me. This is the President Trump as the president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, and in order to promote United States leadership in digital assets and financial technology while protecting economic liberty, it is hereby ordered as follows, right? Now, keep in mind, the only reason why we're focusing so heavily on the U.S., obviously, U.S. is the U.S. dollar specifically is the global reserve currency. They have the largest stock market, financial markets in general in the world. And their stock market alone represents over 60% of the entire world. So they have the larger stock market, like we've been discussing, than the rest of the world combined, right? So this is why it's very important to always follow the news, the events, and what's happening in the US to be up to date, because they have a major influence in the financial market. And the reason why it's so important, we are going to see it right now. So they're saying how the digital industry plays a crucial role in innovation and economic development in the United States. And this is a fact, because we'll understand why. We'll understand why. A fact is that the US is it plays a crucial role. Digital assets do, right? As well as our nation's international leadership. So it is therefore the policy of the administration to support responsible growth and use of digital assets. So it's about growth. You have to grow. What pushes nations? They're actually, as we will see as we progress throughout this session, GDP, gross domestic product, is very important in nations, because that's the productivity and services combined in terms of dollar. How much are they producing in terms of services, right? How much are they exporting, producing? The services combined of a nation is very important. So growth. So what they're saying here is that this technology plays a crucial role in the economic development, not just within the nation, but internationally. And it's therefore the policy of the administration to support responsible growth of the digital and use of the digital assets. Again, it's a technology. Many don't get it. Many think it's just one specific coin, but it is a technology. It's a blockchain is a technology. It's not just one coin. It's a technology, right? And related technologies across all sectors of the economy, right? Now, this is where the important part is. This is where we really need to pay attention now, because this is the foundation we are laying for the rest of this session. So the first thing is to protect and promote the ability of individuals, citizens, right? And private sector entities. So individuals and companies, institutions, to access and use lawful purpose of open public blockchain networks, right? Public blockchain networks. This is again the technology, using this technology without persecution. Why is this so important? As we know, and specifically Ethereum has been very much attacked, right? Consensus who is the founder of MetaMask, they have been sued. The Ethereum Foundation itself has been sued. Uniswap has been sued, and so on and so forth, right? So many DeFi platforms, or Ethereum itself has been sued, and other Coinbase and so on and so forth, right? They've been really sued heavily. And Coinbase is also a layer 2 blockchain on Ethereum as well, so on and so forth, right? So we've been always experiencing a lot of persecution, and many even were put at fault for just developing and deploying software like we see here. So all of this has an end, right? So no more we have the ability to develop and deploy software, to participate in mining, validating, to transact with other people without unlawful censorship, right? And the most important communities right here, we can maintain self-custody of digital assets. This is it. This literally gives DeFi green light. And a lot of people don't really get into the details to really understand what this executive order really means, because crypto Twitter is just shilling one coin and thinking that's the end all be all, and that's what the crypto industry is all about. That's wrong. The crypto industry is about a technology, blockchain technology. This executive order is about the technology, not about one specific coin, but it's about the technology, right? A lot of people don't understand it. They don't get it. And this is why these points are very important for us as a community, as an industry to understand, right? It's about the technology. So self-custody is very important. We can lawfully use public blockchain. We have the ability to develop and deploy smart contracts, which are softwares. A lot of people don't understand that. This is why I keep saying this is a technology that is an asset at the same time. Smart contracts are softwares. They're softwares. And we can use these softwares to facilitate and develop more sustainable and efficient monetary system. And this is what smart money and these institutions have understood, right? So, like we said, so secondly, look at what's important here. So promote and protect the sovereignty of what? The United States dollar. Not just promote it, but to protect the sovereignty of the US dollar. We know about this. The aim of the executive order is to promote and protect the US dollar, strengthen the dollar, strengthen the bond market. That's very important. What does it include? It includes through actions to promote and develop and the growth and lawful, legitimate dollar-backed stablecoins worldwide. What a surprise is this? Does this really surprise us? How can you strengthen and protect the sovereignty of the US dollar? It's by using the blockchain technology, which are smart contracts, which are softwares, and you use that by legitimizing lawfully the dollar-backed stablecoin worldwide. Where are stablecoins? Stablecoins are issued where on the largest smart contract blockchain. That's the home of stablecoins. That's where the majority of the stablecoins are, on smart contract blockchain, right? So let's keep that in mind. The number one thing is protect, promote, strengthen the US dollar. If you promote the US dollar, strengthen the US dollar, you're naturally promoting the bond market as well, because you have to back the digital dollar stablecoins with US debts, right? So let's keep that in mind. What else? We have to protect and promote fair and open access to banking services for all individuals and private sector alike. So no more choke point 2.0. We can all freely access, use the banking services provided, and we won't have to experience all these hardships anymore, accounts being closed or canceled because we are interacting with digital assets. All of that is gone, right? And even Jerome Powell mentioned that banks are now openly able, capable, allowed to interact with digital assets. So another one is here, provide regulatory clarity. This is very straightforward. Provide regulatory clarity on what? On these stable coins and strengthening the dollar, strengthening the bond market, and clarity on how, putting clarity, regulatory clarity on how we can use and have access to banking services, and also how we can use open public blockchain networks to develop, deploy softwares. Softwares are smart contracts, are softwares, right? And we can do all of this, including maintaining self-custody of our digital assets. This can only be done in DeFi. If you're using centralized exchanges, you don't have self-custody. If you're into ETFs, you don't have self-custody. So this is for those who pay attention, who want to be in DeFi, decentralized finance. That's the only way you can maintain your self-custody. So, and let's look at the final one. Is no CBDCs, right? Taking measures to protect Americans from the risks of CBDCs, which threatens the stability of financial system, right? So no CBDCs. And in a nutshell, this is it. This is the executive order. These are the 5 points. These are the 5 points. Nothing more, nothing less. Straightforward, to the point. Really, this is it, right? And now we are waiting for the regulatory clarity in text. Verbally, we already have it. This is the executive order, like we see here, signed on the January 23rd, exactly 1 week ago. And it's been in effect, and everything is being worked towards this, right? So now that we understand the executive order, now that we've discussed this and we have this in mind, let's take a step back and understand, first of all, where is the challenge now? Now that we understand the executive order, it's pro-crypto, what it's supposed to do for us. Those are the 5 points. Now, what is the challenge right now? What's our reality right now? Once we understand this, we will appreciate what's coming. So first, let's take a step back now and look at what's the challenge. So the obvious challenge right now is the national debt, right? The national debt, as we see here, is at 36 trillion US dollars and counting as we speak. Is the total amount of outstanding borrowing by the United States government, right, over the nation's history. This is the challenge, community. This is the challenge. And this is because lack of a sustainable monetary system. We've tried it with the backing of gold. We've tried it with the floating rates, which we still have today, fiat system, and it's not working. So obviously the challenge, the issue here is not the fiat. The issue is not the monetary system itself, but rather its sustainability and efficiency is lacking. We have to make it work. We have to make it more efficient. And this is the time to do it using this technology. This is the way to do it, right? This is the only way we can do it. And don't take my word for it, as always. This is all under the agenda of the World Economic Forum, right? And this is the business case made by the US, by the World Economic Forum, is the whole tokenization aspect that is in everybody's mouth, right? And this is what it's all about. Using this technology, like we just read in the executive order, is to use smart contracts, blockchain technology. It's a technology to automate the processes, right? So that we can have shorter settlement cycles. This will improve our liquidity because liquidity is what's lacking. And because of liquidity, we have these 4-year cycles, bear markets and bull markets. And this is why the rates are being always adjusted because of liquidity. So using smart contracts, automated processes, the digital ledger technology doesn't just shorten the settlement cycles, but it improves liquidity. It enhances market efficiency, and it also lowers risks. It also opens gates. Using this technology opens doors to interact or to have 24/7 market operations. And like we always talk about this takes infrastructure. This is why there's a $600 billion budget put out there to expand data centers, to grow them outside of, not just within the US. There'll be 10 data centers built in the US alone, but it will go beyond US borders as well, right? By public companies, they're already out there, like Microsoft is already out there spending tens of millions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars in expanding their data centers and so on and so forth, right? Now, why is all this important? Is because we need a network connectivity of blockchain networks. It's all about this right here: smart contracts, blockchain technology. This is how it's worked. And what is it used for? It's using, by how will we achieve that? By using distributed ledger technology. The World Economic Forum is just set the stage, and we saw that word for word it was written on the executive order. It's we have to use the digital distributed ledger technology. For what? Collateral management. Why collateral management? Because collateral strengthens the banking system. Why is the banking system so important? Because that's where all the financial, the stock markets and all are settled and executed, right? And they're the backing of these exchanges. And because the US commands 60% of the global stock market, that's the most important asset that they have, because they've shipped all the production outside of the US to Asian nations like China, Taiwan, India, so on and so forth, right? So what they're left with is the banking system. And the banking system can't function without collateral management. And this is why collateral is so important. And this is why now it's obvious for us to see JP Morgan already has their tokenized collateral network in place on Ethereum. And the goal is to tokenize things so that these tokenized assets, money market funds, can be used as collateral to strengthen the banking system, strengthen the stock market. And a strengthened bank system will strengthen the dollar and strengthen the bond market. You see how everything is coming together? That's the agenda. That's the whole idea. Strengthen the monetary system using smart contracts, using distributed ledger technology, using the blockchain technology. Nothing here talks about one specific coin. It talks about technology. It talks about smart contracts. Let's keep all of this always in mind. So now that we understand that, let's go back to the challenge is debt, right? This is the challenge that we're facing right now. But thank goodness this challenge is getting ready to be tackled by one gentleman known as Scott Bessent. Who is Scott Bessent? He's the individual that just got sworn in as the 79th Secretary of the Department of Treasury. This is the new head of Treasury, right? Why is this so important? He was just sworn in 2 days ago, January 28th, to be the Secretary of the Treasury. He was sworn in by the Supreme Court Justice, right? 2 days ago. So all we need to know about out of this article is just this. As a secretary, what's his assignment? What's his mission? What is he going to do there? So Mr. Bessent is responsible for the US Treasury's wide-ranging mission to maintain a strong economy. Remember what the executive order was talking about? How can you maintain a strong economy? Strengthen the dollar, strengthen the bond market, strengthen the banking system using smart contracts for the collateral using strength through collateral management, and ending with the derivatives market. Everything is right here in front of us. So he's here to maintain a strong economy, foster growth. Again, growth is the key word here. You need growth and create job opportunities for all Americans, promoting conditions, etc., etc., at home and abroad. And then this is the most important thing, as well as managing the US government finances. Why am I highlighting this? Because right now, the US finances are out of whack right now. There is mismanagement, inefficiencies, unsustainable monetary system right now. It's out of whack right now. So this is an individual that is not a politician, never been a politician. This is a full-blown business person running a hedge fund, right? He's running a hedge fund. And as you see here, Bessent has been in the global investment management business for 40 years. There's nothing about a political career here. So this is an individual who knows one or two things about global investments and management, right? So this is all we need to know about this so far. And another thing I want us to show in, besides his credentials, we also need to understand that he's the founder and chief executive officer of Key Square Capital. That's a global hedge fund. It's a global hedge fund, right, that he owns, and he's the CEO, CIO, chief investment officer. However, he's going to step down. However, he stepped down already as he's taken office 2 days ago, right? So this is what we need to understand. And again, I want us to understand that we always want to verify, right? We read executive order was talking about strengthening the dollar. That will strengthen the bond market. And we're doing that through a digital technology, right? Digital ledger technology, blockchain technology. How? Through stable coins. Now, we've had that from the executive order. We read it from the World Economic Forum also. And now let's hear it from the man himself, right? Let's hear it from the Scott Bessent himself. Let's hear what he's saying.
Competitors, and we must carefully deploy sanctions as part of a whole of government approach to address our national security requirements. And critically, we must ensure that the US dollar remains the world's reserve currency.
He mentioned critically twice. He said critically. What's very critical here is we have to strengthen the US dollar. It has to remain the world global reserve currency, period. Nothing about a specific coin, nothing about, it's about US dollar remaining sovereign, the global reserve currency, strengthen it. That's critical. Now we had it from 3 different sources, from the executive order, president himself, from the World Economic Forum, and from the sitting chair of Treasury, Scott Bessent himself. So we triple checked, right? So let's keep all of this in mind. However, one more thing that we have to kickstart. Let's hear from the president himself. Let's hear what he has to say in regards to certain things. But before that, I also want to highlight that Scott Bessent told you about his Key Square Capital Management hedge fund, right? And he knows a thing or two about sovereign wealth funds. He knows a thing or two about sovereign wealth funds. I want us to keep that in mind, right? He's very well versed with sovereign wealth funds. Let me say that first. Now, let's listen into what the president has to say here, just briefly.
We'll create America's own sovereign wealth fund to invest in great national endeavors for the benefit of all of the American people. Why don't we have a wealth fund? Other countries have wealth funds. We have nothing.
In the final weeks leading up to the election, Donald Trump and Joe Biden found some common ground on at least one thing: the wisdom of creating some form of sovereign wealth fund for the United States. But that they've worked for some countries doesn't necessarily mean they'd worked for the world's largest economy.
So it's really interesting that in this really polarized environment that we're living, both Trump and Biden are thinking about possibly starting a national sovereign wealth fund in the United States.
The idea that we should...
So, community, as we see here, we just heard that the president himself was asking himself, like, everybody has a wealth fund. How come we don't have one? But let's look at specifically who has a wealth fund and what is actually a wealth fund. And why is that so significant, right? So we hear that the president himself is talking about, and that's one of the only things they agreed on with the former President Biden, that the US needs to have, right? So if we are to just briefly look at the world's biggest sovereign wealth funds, let's look at them, right? So total assets of the biggest state-owned investment funds. Sovereign wealth funds are national funds, right? And the largest one, as we see here, and this is outdated, it's larger than 1.1. It's 1.7 as we speak. It's the Norwegian. Norway has currently 1.7 trillion wealth fund, government pension fund for the betterment of the nations. And then Abu Dhabi is second. And then China has also they have two wealth funds as well following. These are some outdated numbers, but I just wanted us to look at this in form of how many nations have them. Norway, China, the UAE, United Arab Emirates has one, Kuwait, and then we have Singapore has as well, right? So these are nations that have sovereign wealth funds, something that the former President Biden and the sitting president today are very much interested in, obviously. And coincidentally, and I'm being very sarcastic here, this Scott Bessent is also his hedge fund company, is well versed also with sovereign wealth funds. But it's probably nothing, right? It's probably nothing. So let's keep this in mind, community. We are getting somewhere. So to understand this and to appreciate this, let's go back to our current crisis right now. In order to have a sovereign wealth fund, you have to be in surplus. You have to have extra funds sitting around somewhere that you have in surplus to spend, to invest. How can you have a sovereign wealth fund if you're in deficit? And we see here the US dollar. It's been hit by inflation so much. Look at how it's been dropping and losing purchasing power over the last 100 years. It's been just losing purchasing power. And the US, obviously, like we saw here, this is a challenge. How can you have a sovereign wealth fund if you are in deficit? A deficit of 36 trillion US dollars, outstanding borrowing from the feds. So in order to be, or rather have a sovereign wealth fund, you need to be in surplus. There's no other way around it. You need to be in surplus. But again, don't take my word for it. We always have to verify, right? Let's verify what I just said. In order to have a sovereign wealth fund, you need to have a surplus. So let's verify what I just said. Here is Norway. Norway, they have the largest sovereign wealth fund in the world. So let's look at their numbers. And this is not some random website. This is from the World International Monetary Fund, IMF, based in Switzerland, right? So these are real numbers right now. There's a lot of numbers, so don't be confused. We're only going to focus on two numbers. This right here which represents GDP currently, which is Norway has a GDP of 500 and let's say just call it a round number, 500 billion US dollars GDP. Again, GDP just means this is the gross domestic product, meaning that this is all the goods and services produced by that nation over a time span of 1 year. How much goods, services have they produced in terms of exports, services they're producing nationally and exporting outside, the goods and services they're providing? It comes to roughly 500 billion. That's their GDP, right? So this is all we want to focus on. This is one of the numbers we're focusing on right here. The other one that we want to look at is their current account balance, right? The current account balance, as we see here, is $63.5 billion. This is what they have sitting in the balance right now. They have money, 63 billion just sitting there, right? And their debt, their GDP is 500 billion. Another number I want us to look at, the third and last one, is their government debt to GDP ratio is only 42%. This means that it's less, 42%, only 42% of the GDP. So roughly 200 billion, right? So they only have roughly 200 billion in debt. So the GDP is 500 billion. They have 63 billion just sitting around in their balance sheet. They're positive, cash positive, and their GDP to debt ratio is only 42%. Well, Steve, why are you sharing this with us? Because remember, we are confirming that in order to have a wealth fund, sovereign wealth fund, you have to be in surplus, right? How you need money that's sitting around to be able to invest it, right? So let's look at the great US. Again, this is from the same website, International Monetary Fund, right? This is now the United States that holds the global reserve currency, that also wants to establish a sovereign fund, right? So let's look at their GDP. Is way more. This is 30 trillion. Their GDP is 30 trillion US dollars. 30 trillion US dollars compared to 500 billion that Norway had. And Norway has the largest sovereign wealth fund. Keep that in mind. Now, another number that we are interested in is right here. What is their current balance? How much money, how much cash, how much money do they have right now on their balance sheet? Look at the US, 933 billion. So almost $1 trillion in the negative. And we're just starting. We're just starting the year. We are barely 1 month in, and we are sitting on $1 trillion negative. Keep in mind, Norway has 63 billion plus surplus. US is down roughly $1 trillion. And we are just in January. And they still 2 trillion will be added on top of this, and 1 trillion just to pay debt, just to service the debt alone, right? So, and let's look at the third and last number right here, right? The GDP compared to debt to GDP ratio is over 100. Everything over 100%, meaning you have more debt than what you actually produce, right? And GDP being 30 trillion and the debt, like we saw, is 36 trillion. So this makes sense, right? It's 124% of their GDP. So they actually have more debt than actually what they produce. All this tells us, community, is that US needs to produce. And keep in mind, what did we read here? This is very important to understand. Let's come back here. What's the job of the Treasury? The new Treasury is economic growth. Do you remember? We need economic growth. This is all about GDP, because they realize that the US, like we saw here, there's more debt than what they're producing. And we see it here in numbers. The debt is at 36 trillion, like we saw. Let's go back here. I like to visualize things. Again, we see here 36 trillion, right? In debt. The national debt is 36 trillion. This is the debt. However, GDP is only 30 trillion. So this is why the new secretary, he has his work cut out for him. His job is to grow the economy. And how is he going to do that? This is what this technology is all about. It's about the technology. And these are not my words. This is straight from the executive order. Straight from the White House, executive order. What's the first order of business? The first order of business is to promote, protect the sovereignty of the United States dollar, right? How do you do it? Promote the development and growth. How do you develop and grow the US dollar? Simple. Through legitimizing dollar-backed stablecoins. You develop stablecoins. How do you develop them? Through technology, the blockchain technology, right here. You need blockchain technology to fulfill this part. You need smart contracts, blockchain technology. How else will you develop and grow stablecoin? How? There is no other way. You have to use the blockchain technology to develop and grow the stablecoins. And how do you grow them? Through debt demand, bonds demand. And how do you grow bond demand? By issuing stablecoins, because they have to be backed by US debt. I hope we're following along. So back to this chart. We realize that the GDP, the US is producing less than what their debt is. And if it continues like this, it will be out of hand. They're already down $1 trillion, and they're only producing 30 trillion annually compared to the 36 trillion that they already have in debt. So what does all this mean, community? It means that the situation is serious. And if we are to take the president serious, which we have, because he's literally has fulfilled all his promises that he made during the campaign, when he says that he wants a sovereign wealth fund for the US, how else will they won't be able to do it at this state. At the current situation, it's impossible to do it. They have to produce more than they're spending, and their current balance can't be at negative 1 trillion. It has to be profitable. So they don't have any excess funds to invest. Where are the funds coming from? Where are the funds coming from to invest in a sovereign fund? If you're already down $1 trillion in January already, we still have 11 months to go. You're already down $1 trillion. Where will the funds come from to develop a sovereign fund? You have to be in surplus. And this is what we were just verifying and double checking. Norway, they're in surplus. 63 billion in surplus right now, right? This is why they have extra cash to invest in their national sovereign wealth fund, and they're doing it very, very well. And as we see, this is why we see here, they've been growing their wealth fund beautifully, and actually they're in profits, right? Now, let's look at something else. Don't take my word for it. Let's verify what we just said. How important is it to keep your debt in check? This is Norway's debt history, national debt between 2025 and 2029. They've been just looking how it's going to be. But this chart shows us from 2015 to 2029 projections. So their debt to GDP ratio used to be as low as 34%, but then it went up as we see here during the boom cycles, and then during the pandemic, it hit even higher. And then since then, it's been coming down, and it's projected for within the next 4 years, it's going to drop down back to 40%. So they're literally having And this can only happen because they have surplus, like we saw. They're in a surplus, they can comfortably pay down their debts, right? Like it says here, the ratio of national debt to gross domestic product in Norway was forecasted to continuously decrease. It's going to decrease, and in total by 2%. So instead of inflation, the debt increasing, the debt is actually increasing, the debt is actually decreasing, right? As forecasted for 2029. And it's going to go down to 40%. This is so important, and this is a very healthy sign of an economy. This is a healthy sign of a good monetary system, right? They're doing things sustainably and efficiently so that they're having a surplus on their balance sheet, enough so that they can invest in a sovereign wealth fund. They're sitting at $63 billion, and they have enough to fund the nation, and even they have enough left to invest into a sovereign wealth fund, like we see here. And theirs is the largest, way ahead of China's, UAE's, Singapore's, Kuwait, so on and so forth, right? Oh, so now that we understand this, now let's look at and confirm and verify what we just said. Just this article is just from yesterday, and it was updated actually today. So this is brand new. Yesterday they just had a call, and they were presenting how Norway's sovereign wealth fund posted a record 222 billion in profits. This is profit. Other nations are in deficit. Like we saw, US is already down $1 trillion in January. 2 trillion are still coming. They have to, and with the interest rates rising, of course, this will make the debts even more expensive. But nonetheless, so we see here 222 billion in profit, right? So sovereign wealth fund chief credits strong stock market, especially US tech stocks, for the results that we saw, right? And what we need to understand here is that like we saw, it's the world's largest of its kind, right? Sovereign fund. And on Wednesday, which was yesterday, it's a record annual profit, record 222 billion in record, right? So this is making it the highest ever annual gain, right? And they were up 13%. That's just a wealth fund alone. So they have a certain monetary system that is literally helping them to remain profitable and to service their debt beautifully, so that they have a low debt to GDP ratio, and they actually literally made a profit of almost half in 1 year. Last year they made a profit of almost half of their entire GDP. This is a very healthy economic community. Why are we discussing this? Because it's doable. Nations are doing it already. The monetary system, so fiat is not the issue, because Norway, they also have a fiat. It's called krone. It's not called US dollar, it's called krone. So obviously it's not the fiat that is the problem. And they're also under the same monetary system, debt-driven, inflationary, loss of purchasing power. So that is also not the issue, apparently, and Norway is showing us the way. So what is the issue? Find a way how to create a sustainable and efficient monetary system. And how have they been doing it? They've been heavily investing in blockchain technology, new energy, in investing in data centers, and they've been heavily into the blockchain technology. They're using it efficiently, right? And why are we discussing all of this? Like I said, I want us to always verify things. And instead of focusing so heavily on one specific coin, if the largest nation and the largest economy in the world would focus on this technology, like the executive order put it out to do, we would be so much further ahead. And we should be utilizing this technology to make the current monetary system of the United States more efficient, more sustainable. But again, don't take my word for it. Let's quickly tune in and listen in to what this gentleman has to say in regards to strategic Bitcoin reserve and what he thinks about it and how it should be handled, in just his humble opinion, right? Let's just have a second opinion, right? So this is not me saying it. There's another individual saying it. We already had Trump saying that he would love to have a sovereign wealth fund. We see how Norway is succeeding beautifully. They're in profits, they're ahead. They literally have a solid, sustainable, efficient monetary system because they're heavily invested in various markets globally and using the blockchain technology efficiently as well. So it's doable. So let's quickly tune in and let's hear what this individual has to say.
And I think this has to do with how you think about a nation state balance sheet when you are a dominant currency issuer, right? So like one of the big core mistakes in economics is mistaking micro and macro. So if you're a person at home and you've got bills and you've got to pay them, and if you don't pay them, you're bankrupt, and you think, oh, well, you know what, I should probably buy some Bitcoin to invest in, I would tell you, cool story, like that's fine. Right. But on the other hand, when you have the ability to print dollars to pay your bills, like you have an infinite supply of them, you should be thinking about things differently. And that's not a statement that you should print infinite dollars, but it is a statement that the rules of the game you are playing are different. So here's sort of the genesis of my opposition to the Bitcoin reserve. The United States right now has roughly $35 trillion of debt, and we're running a significant deficit. So if we're going to say the solution to this is to buy Bitcoin, you were saying in a place where we're probably already spending too much money, let's spend more too much money to buy Bitcoin, because that money has to come from somewhere, assuming we're not like confiscating it from people, which is a whole different discussion in my view. And then by doing that, okay, now we have Bitcoin and it's going to go up in price. The problem is there's a like tautology in there, which is that it's going up in price because the dollar is falling, because we're spending too much money, among other things, on buying Bitcoin, right? So my argument is in the current fiscal situation, before we even start thinking about buying more stuff at all, we should thinking about cutting spending. That's opposition number one. Is like, why are we sort of end-arounding solving the debt when we could directly solve the debt by spending less, right? Or, and everybody hates this, raising taxes. Two, if you're going to say, well, look, but anyways, we want to have a balance sheet for the United States, we want it to be strong, we're going to think of the US as some sort of like investor, I would then ask the question, and like I'll put this to you and all the listeners, okay, why Bitcoin? Because let me give a counterexample. What about a strategic NVIDIA reserve?
Yeah, or a strategic XRP reserve, which seems to be what some people are hoping for right now, or stuff like that.
Correct. Once you acknowledge that this is a fiscal tool that we're trying to use to shore up the US's balance sheet, you're now in the kinds of fight you have in investment committees about allocations, right? Like, well, why should we only buy Bitcoin? That only makes sense if we're 100% certain Bitcoin will always and forever outperform all other assets, which, don't get me wrong, Bitcoin has a good track record. I own it myself. So this is not skepticism about Bitcoin. But I would also tell you it's irresponsible for a very large balance sheet. Like, say, the Harvard endowment should not YOLO 100% into Bitcoin. That's not how you invest. Diversification is the only free lunch. So once you go down the path of the strategic reserve, you're now going to be in a fist fight with people who say, no, AI data centers and chips, and buy NVIDIA stock. And also people who are like, no, just buy like the NASDAQ writ large, or maybe like all US stocks writ large, or maybe just like housing, right? And you get into a fight that leads you to a path of compromise, which is a sovereign wealth fund.
So we had it. He's also mentioning the best middle ground is to have a sovereign wealth fund. This is something that the President Trump already also, and Biden, agreed that this is the path that the US would like to take, to have a sovereign wealth fund like everybody else. Why don't these large, strong economies have sovereign wealth fund, but the largest economy in the world doesn't have one? like we just discussed in the last few minutes, in order to even come up with a sovereign wealth fund, you need to be in surplus. You need to be in surplus. And there is no other way around it. We've discussed that. We've looked at that. This is the Norwegian Investment Management website. This is the largest fund, like we said, in the world, right? And instead of looking at how much debt a nation has, like we usually look at in the US, this website is how much value, how much money the fund has. So this is one of the most, actually it's the #1 most visited website in Norway. I wonder why, right? You can just come here and look at how your money is growing. This is how much money is entering the fund. This is the largest fund in the world, and it keeps growing, right? And we see here that they say we work to safeguard and build financial wealth for the future generations. How do you build wealth for future generations? By improving a monetary system, right? Improving by having a sustainable monetary system. That's very important. It's very important to have that, a sustainable monetary system. And it's beautiful to see that a nation cares for future generations. And it takes on responsibility to build financial wealth for future generations. This is a government that is doing this for its citizens. This is beautiful to see, right? So another thing I just want us to look at is the investing in equities, fixed income, real estate, and infrastructure, right? Specifically renewable energies, so on and so forth, mainly wind and solar and so on, right? So they're investing in assets that are literally giving you a return on investment, something that gives you a cash flow, something that is not just buy and hodl for 20 years and do nothing with it, but something that literally is giving you something in return. That's what you need to build our global sovereign wealth fund, right? And here you see that they own the world's largest companies, and they're listing them right here in front of us. Actually, they have a stake of 9,000 companies across most countries and industries, and they own at least 1.5% of all listed companies in the world. So that makes the fund the world's largest single investor. They hold Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Google, Amazon, and so on and so forth. They're investing heavily into the markets, and this is what's needed to have in your portfolio as a wealth fund. Or if you want a reserve asset, you want an asset that is literally giving you recurring revenue, not just one that you hold for 20 years and it's just collecting dust. It's not doing anything for you. It's not addressing the 3 questions, right? And it's not solving with the debt crisis, and it's not revolutionizing the current banking system, right? So this is very important to understand and to see how the best of the best are doing it. And then we wonder why these nations are so reluctant in just getting one coin, but rather jumping in on the technology itself, right? I just want us to look at this. The first money transfer into the fund was just below 30 years ago, 29 years ago. So within 29 years, it really grew from roughly 300 million to now 1.7 billion, as we see here. So it's been growing beautifully, as you see, just going all the way up. Why? Because they believe this is what we're talking about. Return on investment accounts for more than half of the fund's value. So more than half of the value of the fund is just from compounding. That's it. They've just been compounding, and that's it. Because like we saw here, this is what they're compounding. They're only taking 2.5% from this, the annual profit. The rest is compounded into the fund. That's it. They only take 2.5%, and the rest is really being reinvested again. And this is how they're maintaining an ever increasing fund. And it doubled within 4 years. 4 years ago, the fund was only at 1 I'm saying only 1 trillion. Now it's at 1.7. So it's almost doubled within 4 years. So by the end of this year, it will probably have doubled now, right? So why am I showing all of this? Why is this so important? There's another thing. We see how it's been increasing since 98. It's been going up by 6.3%. So just for the math wizards that want to know the numbers, 6% of 1.7 trillion is 100 billion, over 100 billion. So they're just passively making 100 billion just by literally doing nothing at all. And they've been doing that since 98. They've been in surplus since 98. So what does this tell us? To have an asset, you need an asset that is liquid, that is stable, and that gives you a cash flow to build and to be able to compound if you want a sovereign wealth fund. We need to rethink how the monetary system is being looked at, right? To have a sustainable, they are not the largest wealth fund by chance. They're not there by chance, but they focus on returns, not on hype, not on just price going up, not on some one specific coin and nothing else, but the fund seeks to achieve the highest possible long-term return with an acceptable risk. So they don't want to take too much risk. They rather keep it small and steady, but they have returns, right? And they're looking for long-term. So why are we discussing all of this? You might ask yourself. Why are we discussing all of this? What has this to do with the crypto industry? What has this to do with our industry? And just to kickstart this question and to start answering this question, let's just listen to what I told us in the last community event. I told you that I was going to show you what the CEO of the Bank of America said in regards to holding hundreds, not 100, hundreds of blockchain patents. And what we're trying to show here is that the financial industry is not sleeping. They have been busy heavily building on top of blockchain and developing products, financial products, to tailor towards both institutions and retailers, you and I. They're in competition for your business, for our attention. And let's quickly hear what this gentleman is saying. This is the Bank of America CEO. Let's just quickly hear, and then we'll get back and continue. This is, by the way, in Switzerland, by the Davos. He attended the Davos, the World Economic Forum in Davos, of course. So this is where the interview took place.
I think there's a whole bunch of dynamics about all the trade and all the consumption of the U.S. consumer and all the stuff that goes on. But I think we do need a strong U.S. dollar. We need a U.S. dollar to be reserve currency. It's good for our country. But what I'm saying is, if you go down the street here and you go in and buy lunch, right? If you can pay with Visa, MasterCard, a debit card, Apple Pay, et cetera, this will just be another form of payment in an instantaneous cash transfer. And so I think if it becomes regulatory okay, which it wasn't before, and that's one of the issues, you'll see the banking system enter with, we have hundreds of patents on blockchain already.
We have hundreds of patents on blockchain already. How do they have hundreds of patents on blockchain already? Let's take a step back, or maybe let's even listen to it again. Right. First thing he said is we need to strengthen the dollar. The dollar has to remain a global reserve currency. Why do we always hear the same things? Why does the dollar always have to be a global reserve currency? We need to strengthen the dollar. It needs to be strong. We need to do this and that. Why? Because this is on the executive order. This is what the World Economic Forum also said, and this is what the president says. This is on the executive order. It says it right here in front of us: promote, protect the sovereignty of the United States dollar. You have to promote, and by promoting, and developing and growth of lawful and legitimate dollar-backed stablecoins. This is why we keep hearing it over and over again. You know, so this is very important for us to understand. And this is how it's done, and this is what's needed, and this is why we keep hearing these things over and over again. So he also emphasizes that the dollar has to remain strong, and they do so by using the blockchain technology and by issuing hundreds of patents on the blockchain. And what does that mean? That means they're using smart contracts. They're using smart contracts. And again, that's not taking, again, my word for it, but this is, again, what we've been discussing right here. This is the World Economic Forum, and this is the business case for tokenization. Smart contracts, automation of processes, faster, shorter settlement cycles, improved liquidity, lower systemic risk, 7 market operations, infrastructure building, use network connectivity, use the blockchain networks, right? Use the distributed ledger technology, use collateral management. These are things that are right in front of us, and we're being told all of these things. And while we are busy chasing meme coins and being told to just focus on one single coin, adults here are busy building hundreds of banking products, are solving challenges solutions. They are funding, they are using the blockchain, Ethereum blockchain, to provide liquidity funds in terms of BUIDL. They are creating infrastructure for the collateral management, like we saw. It's written here and required by the World Economic Forum. Collateral management is required, and that's what JP Morgan has already built. We need to improve liquidity. This is why there's a liquidity fund through BUIDL and Ondo and Securitize and Hashnote and all of these other liquidity fund issuers. We need to strengthen the dollar, like the executive order says. To do that, we need to use smart contracts and develop and deploy them on smart contract blockchain. And these are things that are being built by adults, by smart money, by institutions. And this is the difference between us as native crypto enthusiasts and developers. What are we adding? What value are we adding? What problems are we solving? How can we understand which problems to solve if we don't even understand how the monetary system works? If we don't understand macroeconomics, if we don't understand inflation and how inflation affects liquidity? And if we don't understand the industry, how will we identify the challenges within the industry? And if we don't understand the 4 challenges, how are we going to implement it and solve it? If we don't understand what is on the agenda of the World Economic Forum and how all these large institutions are busy building and developing patents on these smart contracts on Ethereum, meanwhile, our community is bashing Ethereum. It's dead. Just focusing on one coin instead of focusing on the technology that is literally at the core and at the heart of all of this. Even White House knows it's a technology. But we as crypto enthusiasts, we don't even understand that blockchain is a technology and not just one coin. It's a technology. And it's even on the executive order that we need to use the blockchain technology. We need to protect and promote the development and the use of the open public blockchain. What is an open public blockchain? That uses smart contracts, uses the blockchain technology. Which one is the largest? And how are we going to promote and protect the sovereignty of the US dollar? They telling us everything right in front of our faces. It's by stable coins. Where are the largest stable coins? Where do we find that? Where are they? I like to visualize things, right? Let's visualize things. Let's go to the platform. Where are all those things? Let's look at them. Real world asset table. We see here, real world asset table. Where are the largest assets? Ethereum. ZK Sync. Where is ZK Sync? Is on Ethereum. So we see here over 80% of real world assets are on Ethereum alone. And if we go here and look at stable coins, majority, of course, they're on Ethereum as well. We can come here and you see where they are. Here in blue, majority, they're on Ethereum, right? More than 60% is on Ethereum. And if we go back and we look at real world assets, these are stable coins. Let's look at bonds, even treasury bonds. Where are they? If we look at treasury bonds, look at Ethereum. The bond market, all on Ethereum. It's by far Ethereum, 2.4 billion on Ethereum, and it's 3.4 billion total. And 2.4 billion out of that is on Ethereum alone. So don't take my word for it. This is just what's happening on the blockchains. Everything is on Ethereum. So all of these things that we are reading that are supposed to take place and promote and strengthen the US dollar, strengthen the collateral market, strengthen the banking system, all of these things are taking place right on Ethereum. And this is the reason why when we see these nations having their sovereign wealth funds, it's because they have a sustainable and efficient monetary system. And for the US to get out of this debt spiral and already having more debt than the GDP and already being down $1 trillion in January and not having any surplus, but always being in deficit, how is this going to be sustained? How is this going to work? There's only one way out, community. And they've given us that blueprint. It's right in front of us. First of all, it's issued by the World Economic Forum. They're telling us, use smart contracts, use automated processes. We need improved liquidity. We need a new infrastructure backbone. And we have to use the blockchain technology for that, also known as the distributed ledger technology. For collateral management. Collateral management, again, it's important for the banking system because banking system is the backbone of the stock market. And the stock market is what makes the US relevant and the strongest economy in the world. And this is what also will strengthen the dollar and make US remain a sovereign global reserve currency. And if that happens using the blockchain technology, that means the bond market is going to strengthen because these stable coins need to be backed by US debt. And these collateral, for collateral management, tokenization is going to be used, right? Tokenized assets. They'll be used on smart contract blockchain for the derivatives market. And JP Morgan already has their tokenized collateral network on Ethereum, and so does BlackRock already. They have theirs also on Ethereum, but they have the liquidity fund ready to go. All of that, like we just saw, takes place right here on Ethereum. From private credit is on Ethereum. We saw real world assets, Ethereum. We saw stable coins is Ethereum. We saw treasury bonds, also Ethereum. That's where it takes place, community. Let's not be carried away with that. Let's understand that that's the reality. So again, it's been issued, laid out, the blueprint, what needs to be done by the World Economic Forum, and then confirmed by the president himself through an executive order talking about digital financial technology. How else will you produce smart contracts and digital assets, specifically strengthen the dollar through stable coins, if you don't have smart contracts? You can only do that on the blockchain, in a smart contract blockchain. And this is why everything is focusing towards that. And even the Bank of America president himself is saying that, CEO is saying that the dollar needs to be strengthened, and they have hundreds of patents already for the blockchain. So community, what does all these do? This is on an industry level. We've been looking at everything on an industry level, right? And how does all of this relate to us? How does all of this relate to us? First of all, if we go back to this IMF, International Monetary Fund, and we look at Norway, Norway has a population of roughly 5 million, very small nation, only 5 million in population. And still, it has $500 billion in GDP, right? However, we saw that in 2024 alone, they had almost half of that 500 billion in GDP. They almost had half of that just in annual profits alone. So they could easily pay off the debts they have just with 1 year alone, because they have like 200 billion in debt, right? They could pay it with all of these record annual profit. Within 1 year, they can pay off their debt easily and be debt free. But one of these debts obviously is from US bonds. They have US bonds, of course, as well, that they have. So this is part of the debts that they're holding, right? So why are we mentioning all of this? Why is this so important? Like we always say, today's topic is monetary system. Blockchain technology is being used to have a more efficient and sustainable monetary system. And the only way to achieve that is to stick with the plan, stick with the program, and read between the lines what is being told and what is being said in front of us right now. This is the only way that the US is going to achieve all those ambitious goals that they have to make the dollar strong again, to make the economy grow. They need to grow the GDP. How are you going to grow your GDP? Through real world assets, through tokenization of digitalization of the dollar, strengthening the bond market, and collateralizing all these tokenized assets, and using this collateral to strengthen the banking system. The banking system is important and vital for the stock market, because the stock market is the backbone of the financial system of the US. All of these things play together. And where's the home of all of this? Smart contracts, new infrastructure, liquidity, blockchain, networks, distributed ledger technology, and the collateral management system. All of this takes place right here on Ethereum. So, and how does that affect us? Now, let's bring this home. Let's bring this home. How does all of this affect us as an ecosystem, right? Let's ask ourselves that question. How does all of this affect us? Let's look at it right here. This is how it affects us, community. Let's come to our fundamentals. We say that all we need to focus on is always on the fundamentals. Fundamentals are key. Now that we understand that all of this is taking place, how are we going to capitalize from all of this? The only way to capitalize from this is, like we discussed also in our previous community event, you have to make DeFi work. And how are you making DeFi work? The only way to make DeFi work is you need two things to make DeFi work. First of all, you need a community that is engaged in community events such as the one we have today consistently. Why? We need to educate ourselves, inform ourselves, so that we're all on the same page, purpose-driven, so that we're not driven by sentiments, hypes, short-term gratification, but rather we focus on fundamentals, on education, and look at the long term. We understand that we are here for the long term, and our focus is on fundamentals, because the digital technology is here to stay. We understand the agenda of the World Economic Forum, which is being executed through the executive order by the President of the United States. And this is further handed over to the institutions who are also building infrastructures, collateral management systems on the blockchain, and also have the mission to strengthen the dollar. Like we saw, the incoming Treasury Chair, Scott Bessent, number one is, and he said critical twice, is to strengthen the dollar. Bank of America CEO, strengthen the dollar. Executive order, strengthen the dollar. World Economic Forum, strengthen the dollar. How do you achieve that? Through the blockchain technology. And all of that, while it's happening, we need to be prepared as a community. We have to know all of this. So number one, have a community that is informed, educated, and is aware and is purpose driven. Secondly, a platform. You need a platform, an ecosystem that is addressing these four challenges we identified in the industry. We always talk about them: lack of liquidity, inflation, unsustainable staking distributions, inefficient use of volume. Why are those so important to address? Because if you do that, you remain sustainable, efficient, and you go beyond this bull cycle. And if you do that, you address the challenges of the entire community, of those of the traders, the holders, and the stakers. How do you do that? Retain liquidity, number one. This is not just our ambition. Remember, if it's good enough for the World Economic Forum to improve liquidity, trust me, it's good enough for us. If the World Economic Forum is focusing on improving liquidity, if BlackRock is focusing on developing and building a liquidity fund, don't you think it's important for us to retain liquidity as well? So this is what we do. We retain liquidity, not just with every trade, but also by putting aside 10% that we stake and you get USDC distributions. We just use it for buybacks and restaking. That's all. Besides that, we're using the NFT boosters as well. If you only have, if you don't have any, you receive 70% of your distributions. But if you want to maximize, you need your 5 boosters, right? To unlock the 100% of your distributions. The revenues received from the sales of these NFTs go towards liquidity as well, right? And this enables Bullrun to build and sustain a healthy liquidity. That's how it works. The best is now the community itself can do exactly what this is doing. You can now use your USDC distributions to buy back and stake if you so desire. When you do that, you're contributing to the monetary system that we have, which is retaining even more liquidity, reducing the supply, and accumulating USDC distributions, right? So second is inflation. Inflation, our supply, we started at 1 million, right, in supply, and now we are down, as we see here, we are down to 964,000. And with every trade, the supply keeps shrinking. So not only are we retaining liquidity and attracting even more traders, but our supply is shrinking as well. Why is this so important? Because we have a staking platform. And if you want to stake a commodity, if you're staking something, you want to stake something that is not causing inflation. You want to stake something that is actually reducing in supply. That's why would you stake something that is causing even more inflation? Because if you do so, isn't this the challenge that we are facing right now? This is the issue with the dollar. Keeps getting more dollar gets printed, and it just dilutes the dollar more and more and more. And as a result, you fall into the debt spiral that you can't get out of it. And this is why instead of being in a surplus, you see here, you're in the negative. 900 right now. 933 billion, almost 1 trillion in the negative, right? And this, as a global reserve currency, is not a good look. it causes many nations not to want to purchase US bonds anymore. Who wants to buy bonds that are in the negative already? And the monetary system is unstable, and the GDP to debt ratio is over 120%. This is why it's important for the US to use this blockchain technology to strengthen the dollar, strengthen the bond market, use the banking system to bring even more trust for the US by using the collateral management system on the blockchain. And it's done by tokenizing assets, starting from the US dollar to real world assets. This will bring demand for the debt purchasing, and this will strengthen the dollar and retain the sovereignty of the US dollar. This is on the agenda of the World Economic Forum. It's on the agenda of on the executive order. It's on the agenda of these banking institutions and financial institutions. And they're all working together to achieve that. And step by step, this is where we are heading. So this is why they understand that a real asset is one that you can stake and gives you a cash flow, right? And Ethereum is that. You can stake it and it gives you a cash flow. Why is this so important? Like we just said, in order to have a good sovereign fund, imagine if they would be just putting in one coin. Where would the annual profit come from? All you need to do is just hold it, right? For 20 years. But how is that going to pay all your debts? How is that going to sustain you? You have to pay your debts, right? You have to pay Social Security. You have to pay health, Medicare, Medicaid, all of that. You have to pay for your military. Where is that going to come from? Ask yourself that. So this is something that some are just blinded because of just being a maxi on one specific coin, and they don't see and realize that it's not about one coin. It's never been about one coin. It's always been about the technology. It's always been about the technology. And that technology is known as the blockchain technology. And this is written on the executive order, blockchain technology. There is not a single coin mentioned in this executive order, but the technology is mentioned more than once. And they talk about self-custody. If you're using centralized exchanges, you don't worry about self-custody. If you're purchasing ETFs, you're not worried about self-custody. The only time you're worried about self-custody is using DeFi, having your decentralized wallet, such as MetaMask, connecting to decentralized applications such as Aave, Uniswap. That's the only time you have to worry about self-custody. So they're literally telling us on the executive order that this blockchain technology is here for us to use in DeFi and maintain self-custody. And we can easily now build, deploy, develop smart contracts, which are softwares on the blockchain without any persecution. And all of this is because we need to promote, protect the sovereignty of the United States dollar. And to do this, we need to develop and grow the dollar-backed stablecoin. Where do you do that? On the blockchain, using smart contracts. That's the message for today, right? It's right here, everything in front of us. And this is exactly what our ecosystem does and takes advantage of. We retain liquidity because we understand the more liquid the ecosystem is, the more trades. And the more trades, it attracts even more liquidity. It provides, it causes even more scarcity. And it helps to retain and accumulate even more USDC distributions. And this is all important because this is exactly what helps our ecosystem to be efficient and sustainable in terms of a monetary system that is decentralized. We have everything going for us. We have the technology here. We have the daily and weekly community events that educates us, informs us, so that we are all on the same level and we have the same, we are all purpose driven. And we have a platform also that is addressing these 4 challenges in the industry. So we have all the tools, everything it takes to make DeFi work. All we need to do on our side is to keep growing this movement, understand this movement, understand how our monetary system works, how macroeconomy works, how inflation affects liquidity, how liquidity is important, what's the agenda of the World Economic Forum, what's happening in front of our eyes. Let's not get carried away by this, by the crypto Twitter community that is saying one thing, but actually the regulators are telling us a whole different thing, right? So let's focus on what the real different makers are saying and not what crypto shillers are saying, right? Let's not be carried by emotions or a certain rhetoric, but let's look at things rationally and for what they really are. And this is the only way, and the least we can do is to make the best out of this ecosystem, out of this technology, use it to address the 4 challenges, be part of an ecosystem that is doing so, and then also have weekly, daily events to empower us through knowledge, understanding, and through education as well, and to inspire us to be focused and to realize what we have as a community. Because all these institutions that are building solutions, they're not doing it for the retailers. They're doing it for themselves and their shareholders. So the question we should ask ourselves, which of your favorite cryptocurrency, even your favorite coin, is having the monetary system that will make DeFi work for you as a retailer, for us as retailers, for us as a community? Which one? And then based on what we've learned today, ask yourself, based on the agenda that we've read today, ask yourself, which meets these requirements? Start from the blockchain and down to the ecosystem. Which ecosystem meets these requirements? Start from the World Economic Forum. Which one is using smart contracts to improve liquidity? Which one is building infrastructures? Which one is literally using the distributed ledger technology for the collateral management? Who is doing that? Ask ourselves that. Let's ask ourselves these questions. This is very important for us to understand, community. And this is, again, we are not just talking. These are facts. Who did that? It's BlackRock, right? What are they doing? They're using BUIDL as collateral. Where did we read this? Where did we see all of this? They're using this for the derivatives market. This is what they're doing. This is what the agenda is. They're just playing along, right? They're just telling us exactly what needs to be done, and then they're doing it. So this is exactly what's happening, community, and it's happening right in front of us. So let's not be carried away by crypto Twitter and emotions, but let's look at what the World Economic Forum is saying. Let's look at what BUIDL is doing under BlackRock and Securitize. Let's look at what JP Morgan is doing. Let's look at what the executive order is saying that needs to be done. Let's listen to Scott Bressett that is doing. Let's look at what Atkins is saying. Those are the things that we need to look. Don't listen to what crypto Twitter is saying, but let's look at the actions of what the people in charge are saying and doing, right? So that's it for today, community. I just wanted us to really understand what's at stake and what's happening and how to make the most out of this, what's coming, because it won't happen. We won't experience this again. Just like those who got in early 15 years ago in certain coins, there are not such growth anymore. So this is the early stages where we can really take advantage of this once in a lifetime liquidity rush that is coming through the blockchains, through the tokenization of assets, through the digitalization of the US dollar, and all of this. It's going to happen once, very heavily. And then, of course, it will still keep happening, but less and less effective, with less and less impact. So you want to be ready for this. And to be ready for this, you need those two things to happen to make DeFi work. A community that is consistently focused, engaged, and a platform that is addressing those 4 challenges. Those two go hand in hand. So this is it for today, community. We have an opportunity to be part of this monetary system that is open for everyone to participate in through their decentralized wallet, to be their own custodian, right? And it's even written in the executive order. We can be and maintain self-custody of our digital assets. Where can you do that? ETFs don't allow you to do that. Exchanging on centralized exchanges don't allow you to do that. They're not your assets. Nor your wallet, not your assets. So this is strictly referring to DeFi. And DeFi is using the blockchain technology, right? So let's understand what's happening. Let's understand what's coming. Let's understand the reason why we have to protect the sovereignty of the US dollar through the stable coins. This is the message for today, community. I really want to appreciate you all for and once more attending today's session. It's always very important for us to be consistently attending these sessions, as they give us the opportunity to really highlight these things, these challenges on a global scale, and not just keeping everything within our community. So YouTube is a great platform as well that is giving us the opportunity to reach as many people as possible. As I'm speaking, bear with me, I'm sharing my screen again here so we can get to your comments as we're about to close out this session for today. And our community, let's come to your comments. As we're wrapping up this session for today, let's just quickly summarize. Today's session was all about monetary system. Let's look at the blockchain technology, these cryptocurrencies, this ecosystem as a monetary system. And what we've learned today, we should be able to understand that every time we look at a cryptocurrency, an ecosystem, let's look at them as a monetary system. Do they address challenges? Are they part of a solution, or are they part of a problem? What are they addressing? Do they have the minimum requirement of making DeFi work? Do they inform, educate the community? Do they have consistent weekly events? And do they have a platform that is addressing the 4 challenges? Why is all of that important? To take advantage and to make the most out of this liquidity rush that is coming on our side. And you want to be part of this from the very first day. And everything is aligning perfectly, like we've seen in this session today once more, that is coming our way, right? And it will hit everybody blindsided. We'll experience another DeepSeek moment, but on the crypto side, not on the AI side, but on the crypto side, that there is a platform that is doing things more efficient, more sustainable, and is literally benefiting the community, and took advantage of all this liquidity rush. It's not just about pump and dump during bull cycles and then bear markets, but it's literally there to consistently be sustainable and efficient, and has using this blockchain technology with its new monetary system of efficiency and sustainability. Yes, there is. And we want to be part of that. And we don't want to sit on our hands and wait for somebody to develop it. Why don't we develop it? This is why we developed it. And we are part of this movement. All of us are, right? So let's continuously being engaged and understand what we have, what we are part of, and just invite people to just tune in and listen, to learn. You know, it's important, just as important, to just educate people. If you like your friends, you want your people to hear about this and understand about all these things that are happening, we owe it to ourselves. When we call ourselves crypto enthusiasts, we have to be informed. What makes us crypto enthusiasts? Not just because we want to swap meme coins, but because we want to understand the monetary system that we're in. We want to verify whether there's any improvements, whether we're making the most out of this technology. It's a 16-year-old technology. What do we have to show for? we're still only known for pump and dumps token. We're still known to be scams, a community. We don't want to be known for that as an industry, right? So let's be part of a solution, not the problem. And let's learn, let's be hungry to learn and to grow personally and as a community as well. So my great brother Theo says here, greetings, my great brother Steve, dearest Queen Mama Wino, and my wonderful Bull Run family. Looking forward to discussing our great Bull Run monetary system. Thanks. Thank you, great professor. It's always a pleasure to see you in the community as well, great brother Theo. We appreciate you as well. Greetings, dear brother Steve. I see you wrote it twice. Queen Patricia says, a great evening to all Bull Run family. Good evening, Steve and Mama Wino. Greetings to you as well, Queen Patricia. It's a pleasure to see you in the community as always. Queen Kionole says, hi Bull Run community. Looking forward to today's session as our developer, Steve, enhances our knowledge base. We are happy to see you, Queen Kionole. Glad to see you in the community as well. Queen Patricia says, good evening, family. Good evening. Right back at you too, Queen Patricia. Queen Val says, hello, Mr. Steve, and warm greetings to our Queen Mother Wino. Happy Thursday to all of us. Bull Runners patiently waiting for today's session. I hope that you were able to take away something from today's session, Queen Val. We appreciate your consistency in your leadership very, very much. Queen Patricia says, good evening, family, and good evening, Steve. Thank you for your dedication to come and share with us always. Stay blessed and protected always. Thank you as well, Queen Patricia, for your consistency, your leadership. You're very, very much appreciated. Queen Aloshi says, greetings, Bull Run family. Very eager to hear from Dev Steve on this topic. I hope that you're able to take away something from today's session, Queen Aloshi. Very much appreciated. Always nice to see you in these community events. Queen Val was kind enough to share the links of our Telegram groups. We are very active as well as a community, and we encourage you to join our Telegram group. Here are the links for Bull Run. We have also for Killer Whale and Survivor are here as well. So feel free to be part of our community. You're very, very welcome to be part of it if you so desire. And thank you, Queen Val, for sharing this with us today. Queen Aloshi says, greetings, Bull Run family. I am very eager to hear what Steve has in store for us, what Dev Steve has in store for us as we wait for the good tidings with the Bull Run. I hope that today's session was something that you were able to take away from, had something that you were able to take away from today's session. Always a pleasure to see you in the community, Queen Aloshi. We have Queen Debbie saying, greetings, Bull Run community. Thank you, my brother Steve, for the education and all your efforts on building an educated community. God bless you, my brother. Greetings to you and Queen Mother Wino. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Queen Debbie. You're very much appreciated. Your kind words, your welcoming words are very much appreciated. We can only give it back to you as well for all your efforts, all your consistency, your leadership on Fridays and Sundays. Very, very much appreciated what you do for the community and for the queens as well. Queen Grace says, thank you, Steve, for making us the community to be well educated, informed, and knowledgeable in blockchain technology and to know the purpose of this technology. We cannot thank you enough. Thank you too, Queen Grace. You're very, very much appreciated. And like you rightly said, there's really nothing more to add. We should always understand that this is a technology. It's more than just swapping meme coins and chasing market caps and price going up. It's a shame that the only time there is excitement in the industry is when a particular coin just hits all-time highs, right? But it's more than that. It's a technology, and it's supposed to have utilities and use cases. It's supposed to address certain challenges. It's supposed to be a solution for certain challenges that we face in the industry. And this is what it's all about, right? And this is why you hear Bank of America and the likes having 100 patents already. lined up while we are chasing meme coins, right? This can't be. After 16 years, we need to do better as an industry, right? And let's be the example that we would like to see in the industry. And this is why we're so consistent with this. So thank you, Queen Grace, for your feedback. Very, very much appreciated. Queen Lati says, to serve crypto customers, thank you to our developers, Queen Mom and King Steve, for your insightful vision in developing this project to empower us. It takes all of us, Queen Lati, and we can only achieve it as a community. It's not a one woman, one man show. It's not a one king, one queen show. It takes every single one of us. And every effort that we put in, every time we're consistently participating, engaging, it goes a long way, right? We're all chipping in individually to our best abilities, right? So Queen Lati says, greetings, Bullrun family. What a privilege again to sit and be educated when the atmosphere is becoming so hot. Fed Reserve Chair comments that banks are perfectly able to serve crypto customers. Beautiful point. Beautiful point. Who would have ever thought that we'll see that day? Finally, it's here, when we see that the Fed Reserve Chairman is literally openly discussing that hey, banks can operate, right? And even though there's no physical legal regulation yet, but hearing that from the Feds, hearing that out of the executive order, it gives confidence for developers, financial institutions, nations to start building, developing, deploying, and on smart contracts, using this blockchain technology for what it was supposed to be used for, right? And whoever comes up with the solution to the challenges that we face, those will be the market leaders, especially having an entire community behind this platform that understands what it stands for, its movement, be part of this movement. We are going to really benefit and make the most out of all of this. So beautifully said, Queen Lati. Queen Tomeletso says, good evening, Bullrun family. Good evening, right back to you, Queen. We are excited and happy to have you with us today in this community event. Queen Cynthia says, greetings, family. Thank you, Mr. Steve, once again for taking your time and making sure that you educate us, inform us, and also give us knowledge on ecosystem, etc. Thank you many, many times. We thank you as well, Queen Cynthia, for your commitment, your consistency, and your leadership as well. You are very, very much appreciated for all your efforts you put in as well. It goes a long way. We have Queen Beatrice. We have Queen Beatrice saying, good evening, Bullrun family. We are back again to listen to our crypto guru. Thank you for the invaluable information. God bless you always, my brother. Thank you so much, Queen Beatrice. You are very, very much appreciated. All your efforts, very, very much appreciated. Your consistency, your leadership. It's always a pleasure to see you in the community, and we all appreciate your efforts. My great brother Abdullahi, King Abdullahi says, warm greetings, Bullrun family. Greetings right back at you too, great brother Abdullahi. Queen Mother Weno herself says, greetings to our awesome queens and kings. Success is hard work, perseverance, learning, consistent sacrifice, and most of all, passion and love for the community. Mom, there's really nothing else to add. This is beautifully said, and it's brought to the point. These are all qualities that our community has, right? We understand consistency, effort, putting in the work, perseverance, learning, and the key word here is consistency, right? And we're all very passionate about the industry we so are enthusiastic about, right? And we all working together to better and to make the most out of these opportunities that we have. Opportunities don't come on a daily basis, and timing is always very important. You can do the right thing, but at the wrong time and never see the fruits, the benefits from it. But if you at the right place, at the right time, on the right platform, using the right technology, on the right blockchain, within the right ecosystem, being part of a movement with the right community, that's all of that is very important. Timing is key. So thank you so much, Mom, for that. And thank you, family, for all your contributions and commitment to the community. Thanks, Steve, for keeping us grounded and well informed. We are very much appreciated. Beautifully said. We also appreciate you, Mom, for all your efforts, your leadership, your daily tweeting consistently, even when our accounts are being suspended. Many community members' accounts are being suspended for absolutely no reason. We're just being consistent. We just being active, just putting the word out, and that just shows the efforts that we're putting in, right? And just to bring awareness to our ecosystem, to our industry, and to just educate and inform ourselves, right? So thank you so much as well. You're very much appreciated, Mom, for all your leadership by example, your consistency on a daily basis, and for always putting out these beautiful tweets. Also, thank you, Brother Cryptorize, and of course Queen Val as well, for always putting out these beautiful banners to keep us motivated, to keep us engaged, keep us informed and educated. It's a team effort, right? It takes all of us, and it takes the rest of the kings and queens to engage with these tweets, to put the word out, like you all kings and queens are doing. It takes every single one of us, right? Queen Poloko says, good evening, Boran family. Good evening, right back at you too, Queen Poloko. I hope you and yours are doing great. It's a pleasure to have you here with us today. Queen Rosemary says, good evening, Boran community. It's another day. We are getting educated. Thanks, Mr. Steve, for your generosity. We thank you just as much for your commitment, your consistency. It's a pleasure to see you being part of this session today. We appreciate you very, very much. None other than Queen Mother Caroline herself says, I was told the secret sauce to become a stronger community is dedication and commitment. Let's continue to tune in every week to be educated, informed, and inspired. Together, we can make a difference. Queen Mother, I see what you're doing, Queen Mother Caroline. I see that you're talking about that secret sauce of community that is dedicated and commitment. That's the perfect sauce indeed. Beautifully said, Queen Mother Caroline. You are very, very much appreciated for all your inputs, your feedbacks, your leadership, your commitment. Very, very much appreciated. And thanks for your feedback. Queen Val is uplifting and encouraging us to engage with the tweets and also with this video today by engaging with the buttons, with the comments, even after we are done. That's very, very important. It will push the algorithm to reach as many individuals as possible. And really, that's the essence of all of these community events, right? We have Queen Waigwa says, thanks, Mr. Steve, for educating the Boran family. We thank you for participating and being part of these events. You're also just as much appreciated, Queen Waigwa. My great brother N2B2 says, hello family, glad to be here for another great session. Thank you, Steve. Boran for life. Thank you very, very much as well, my great brother N2B2. All your efforts, your commitment, your consistency, you're making a lot of noise on Twitter, bring a lot of awareness to our industry and our community. For all of that effort, you're very much appreciated. We see how you're leading by example, and there's nothing more contagious than seeing leadership by example, right? It's literally contagious. So keep up the effort, and you're very, very much appreciated. My great uncle George says, greetings to you, Steve, and the Boran community listening today. We are more enlightened with your tutorials and are privileged to belong to this ecosystem. We're looking forward to the Boran. Beautifully said, Uncle George. You're very much appreciated for all your efforts, all your commitment, your leadership by example as well. All the individuals you let tune in to listen and to be part of this community. All those efforts are very much appreciated, Uncle George. Brother Chris says here for the first time and was educated. Greetings, Steve and the family, Bullrun. It's a pleasure seeing you. I'm glad that you participated today. I hope there was something that you're able to take away from today, great brother Chris. It's a pleasure to see you in the community. Very, very much pleasure to see you here today. Glad you took your time to be part of this. Welcome to the community. Queen Aloshi says, a question to you, our great teacher. Kindly help us know, is there a set date for the written down regulations, or did I miss it? I had an issue with my network. Great question, Queen Aloshi. According to the executive order, they have up to 180 days that they have to put down all of this in writing. However, I don't believe they're going to exhaust all those 180 days. Like we read today in the executive order, number one priority is to strengthen the dollar, strengthen the bond market, strengthen the banking system. And to do that, the clarity of regulation needs to be the top priority, right? And I always like to share. Let's use this opportunity once more. Let me share my screen here. If we go back here, we see that the number one priority is to promote, protect the sovereignty of the US dollar, right? This includes development and growth. We can't develop or grow the dollar and promote it and protect it without stablecoin regulations, right? We can't have the banks be fair to us, so for us to use the banking services without clarity, right? So providing clarity in regulation, this is the number one priority. So in order for all these things, the executive order to take place, we need clarity, right? We need clarity in regulation. So we had even right here, we had how the Bank of America CEO is saying that they already have hundreds of patents just waiting. They have blockchain patents already, hundreds of them, not one, not two, but hundreds, waiting for clarity, waiting for regulations to go through. So this, of course, is going to be expedited because it's on the number one most important list, is to bring clarity. And this is going to cause a domino effect and trigger everything else to fall in line, right? And I hope this answered your question. So nobody knows exactly the exact date and time. However, based on what we're seeing, and let me even come right here. Based on what we're seeing, we see the sense of urgency that is taking place here, right? And it's in the best interest of the nation and of the US dollar, and all to meet all these executive orders that were laid out there to have it done, because everybody else seems to be ready. Everybody's just waiting for the clarity, for regulations to be out there. And it's not like the US has to start from scratch. They already have a blueprint from MICA. MICA is the regulatory body in Europe, right? They already have their template out there since June last year. So US doesn't have to start from scratch. They can take MICA as a template and then tweak it to meet their specifications and requirements. So I believe, and this is my personal opinion, that that's something that is going to be handled fairly quickly. And it's not going to be dragged out too long. And actually, listening to the news, I've also heard that these regulations have been actually already been worked on and are just waiting to be waved through and signed through. I believe also that some are still finalizing their testings and all of that, getting ready before the clarity is here, because it's going to be extremely competitive. Once the regulatory body is in place, there'll be a big competition going on, right? It will be very competitive. So I believe it's going to happen anytime soon. And I hope that really shed at least some light or brought some more clarity to you, Queen Aloshi. We have a queen saying, very educative and encouraging sessions. Good evening, Boran family. Good evening back to you too. It's always a pleasure seeing the community. We appreciate you being part of this session today. Great brother Theo says, again, my great brother, I just want to thank you for all that you do for us all. The awesome education, information, and inspiration that you continue to provide and share is beyond priceless. We appreciate you too, brother Theo, great brother Theo, for always tuning in and being part of these sessions. You are very, very much appreciated. You, good sir, are very much appreciated. It's the compliments back to you, great brother Theo, and I hope you and yours are doing great and are in good health as well. We have Queen Maureen saying, greetings family, great session there, Steve. Thank you for always educating us. God bless you. There is no better way to top this session today. Thank you so much, Queen Maureen. You are very much appreciated. May you and yours also remain blessed always. We appreciate your consistency, your leadership as well, and for always participating in these events. Community, there was a lot to go through today, a lot of information today. I encourage us that to re-listen again, tuning in and listen to it again, as it just serves for us to be encouraged and be aware of what's coming. The markets might be volatile, or we might be uncertain of what's coming. We might not know the exact dates of things taking place, but one thing we know for sure is that what's coming will be, whatever is coming and when it's coming, we'll be prepared, we'll be ready whenever that moment comes. And this is the most important thing for us to understand. So with that said, community, I want to appreciate you all for participating, for being part of these community events. And I also want to wish you a wonderful rest of your evening, your day, your afternoon, depending on what geographic region you're from. And for the queens tomorrow, I wish you a wonderful time. As for those queens that are not part of the community yet, I highly encourage you to participate in Fridays and Sunday sessions exclusively for the queens. We have the largest queens community within our blockchain, within our Boran ecosystem. We have the largest queens community in the industry right now, and it's beautiful to see that. For all your efforts and dedication, you're all very much appreciated, community. Let's stay focused and vigilant. Let's understand what movement we represent. Let's understand what we have, and let's understand and embrace that we are making DeFi work, because we have two of the most important aspects and futures that are needed: daily, weekly community events to encourage, educate, inform our community so that we are purpose driven, and we have the platform that is literally addressing the 4 challenges in the industry. We are more than ready and prepared to embrace whatever is coming our way. When that time comes, we'll be already ready. Let's continuously being awake, consistent, eager, like Queen Mother Wino said. Let's continuously being persistent, dedicated, committed, and like Queen Mother Caroline said, that's the secret sauce. Let's remain dedicated and committed, right? And with that said, community, I want to wish us all a wonderful rest of your Thursday. Till we meet again, community. Bye-bye, everyone.